Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Hewitt, Club Growth Director for District 3, and this is part of our social media training for clubs. We're going week by week, going over a different particular social media to make sure you have the information and resources for success. Just a little bit of housekeeping. There is the chat and the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Please, if you have questions, do not hesitate. I am here to feed Don all the information as it comes in, and when he has moments, he will ask me if there's any questions, and I can ask them for you. We want you to leave this feeling completely confident in YouTube for social media. Talking about Don, our presenter is past international director and distinguished Toastmaster Don Griffith. Don joined Toastmasters in 1997 and has remained very active in his clubs and the district. Now, about 5 years ago, Don started video recording member speeches in his clubs and uploading them to YouTube. To date, Don has uploaded more than 300 member videos. Now, back in 2016, Don began recording and uploading video at district events such as Toastmasters Leadership Institute, conferences, speech contests, and training webinars. Since then, the videos on district YouTube channel have been downloaded and viewed over 9,000 times. Today, Don will share his experience about YouTube, the challenges of each of you to add to your YouTube to your club public relations toolbox. Please give Don an extremely warm welcome as he takes us away. Don.
Today we're going to talk about YouTube, and you've been waiting for this. I know you've seen the announcements and you know what's coming. So the question is, why video? I'm going to let you read this quote. This quote works for a lot of people today, because video is so present and it's so easy to get video content. People have found it's more convenient to just watch a video instead of reading a story about the content. I'm like that for some things, other things I like to read it. But for purposes of today, we're going to talk about video. What's our agenda? We're going to talk about what this isn't, what this webinar is not. A little bit about YouTube stats, some examples of Toastmaster YouTube channels, a few key points, a beginning part of the setup process, a live demonstration online, and then conclude with questions and answers. I'm also going to stop at various points and ask for your inputs, your questions, your comments. Don't be shy to chime in. I'd be glad to do that. First of all, what we're not. We're not going to talk about the production of a video. That's a whole separate webinar in itself. We're going to talk about what to do with a video after you have it. So no lessons about making the video, editing, or working with microphones. Although those are all very important to get good content, that's not the focus of today's webinar. We are going to be talking about YouTube and how to get videos on YouTube and what they can be used for. This first one is the first place where I have some interaction from the audience. So if we could unmute folks, because I'd like people to try to figure out what these numbers mean. Does anyone have an idea of what the first one means? Number 2.
If you raise your hands or comment, I'll be able to unmute or just read your response to Don. Who knows what number 2 is? Oh, Rick says he knows. Rick, you can unmute.
My guess is number 2 behind Facebook as a social media tool.
Okay, that's a very good guess, but not 100% correct. Who is number 1? Google itself, google.com. It's interesting because YouTube is a Google product, but that's a very good Good answer. It is the #2 website in the world in terms of visits. All right. Next one. 500 plus. What do you think that means? Anyone? Any hands going up?
I am looking for hands going up. We don't have any hands yet.
All right. Well, I'll tell you. Every minute of every day, YouTube takes in 500 hours of content. Let me say that again. Every minute of every day, 24 hours a day, 500 hours of content are loaded to YouTube. Now, some of you can do some quick math in your head and realize there's a whole ton of content on YouTube. And if you've been out there, you know what I'm talking about. All right, line 3, 2 billion. Any guesses about 2 billion?
If you raise your hands, I can unmute you. Oh, in the chat, Annie has said users.
Absolutely. Right on. That right now, currently, there's an estimate in the world of 2 billion YouTube users. That's a quarter of the planet. The last one's a little trickier, the 73%. It's also one of the more significant ones for us as Toastmasters, trying to use this as a tool for recruitment. Any ideas?
I am watching for hands raised or comments. That was a tricky one. You've got me thinking there, Don.
Well, I'll break the suspense. That is the approximate percentage of adults in the United States who use YouTube. Who is our audience for recruitment in Toastmasters? It's not kids, it's adults. And so at all age levels, from age 15 all the way up to 60 plus, there's a very high percentage of adults using YouTube. Our audience is out there, and there's a lot of content, as you can see. The question now is your content there, and are they seeing you? A few key points to remember as you're going forward. If you're deciding to use YouTube, there's a few things you want to think about. It's relatively easy to take a video with smartphones. And I'm going to show you, it's fairly easy to get it up on YouTube. Question is, should you? If you haven't received your members' permission to publish their image or their recording, you should not be doing it. So get in the habit of asking for your members' permission. And you can do that pretty informally at a club level. In my clubs, I'd send them an email saying, I'd like to put your video on YouTube. Is that okay? Send me an email back saying it's okay. If the answer came back, no, I'd rather not, or I didn't get a response, I took that as a no. Only if I got an affirmative answer did I put them on YouTube. The second one is make sure you have good sound. I said earlier, we're not going to be talking about the production of videos, but I will tell you that a video with bad sound will not be watched. People will put up with bad video, but audio, it has to be good. It has to be audible. It has to be clear. Always keep adding content. Keep it fresh. When I was preparing for this webinar, I went out and looked for YouTube pages for Toastmaster clubs. And I found quite a few, and several of them looked quite good. And I was going to use them as examples until I noticed all of the videos were 10 years old. Now, if I go to a website and the content is 10 years old, my first thing I'm thinking is they're not in business anymore. They're not an active group. That may or may not be true, but that's going to be my thought process. So make sure you're keeping it fresh. Keep adding content. There's a lot of content available, and your members are providing it. These days, the attention span of the standard YouTube user is really quite short. So if you're having a decision about whether to put on a short clip or a longer session, remember, shorter will be watched more and listened to more. Now, that doesn't mean that someone won't watch a 30-minute video or a 12-minute speech. But if there's a 1-minute speech, they're probably going to watch it. If they like what they see and it piques their interest, yes, then they'll go in and examine the longer content. Be creative. There's a lot you can do. And I learned several things from my research getting ready for this today. And you'll see those. I'll show you some examples of some very creative video work on YouTube. As I said, I went out and I searched Google, of course, for Toastmasters YouTube club accounts. There's the world headquarters, Toastmasters International. They have a very well attended YouTube page. There's 202,000 subscribers. That's a lot. And if you go to their site, there's a ton of content, and it's all video. So you have educational modules, you've got speech contests, you've got world headquarters staff reports, you have international convention videos. It's a very deep well of content. So I recommend that you subscribe to it and go and check that out. I found 2 club websites. There were a lot of district sites, there was a lot of individual sites, but I wanted to see what clubs were doing. And I came across 2 that ironically were both in India. The first one is Toastmasters Club of New Delhi. And at the bottom of that page, you can see some thumbnails that are very clearly member speeches. And that's going to be your main content. But you notice the big one in the middle, what is Toastmasters? I was intrigued, and I think you will be impressed when you see this. This is on their website. I'm going to play the video. I hope that came through clearly on your end. I'd like to get your thoughts on this video. Did it work for you? If you had watched this video as a guest looking for Toastmasters or just came across it, what would your impression be? So go ahead and raise your hand so you can be heard.
I am watching. Oh, Jeff has raised his hand. Go ahead and unmute, Jeff.
It was short and intriguing. Thank you, Don.
It was short. And again, remember what I said, short videos will probably get a chance, especially if they're just trying you out. And it was intriguing. Anybody else?
Louise said, great editing.
Yes, this is a very, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Javier said, a lot of energy, very intriguing, with a bit aggressive speakers might deter me from joining as a socially anxious speaker.
Okay. So it wouldn't necessarily be a club for everyone. Isn't that true anyway? We know that. We know that clubs have personalities, clubs have cultures. But if you were okay with that speaker Would you feel like this was an inviting video? Are you intrigued enough to want to visit? And I think I was. Any other comments about the effectiveness of this? And do you think perhaps if you had something like it in your YouTube channel, that it would be effective for your club?
Jeff, did you have another comment?
I think it would be inviting. One thing missing was the URL on the video went by real fast. Would have been nicer to have something more permanent.
Okay. It's in the slide deck that will be made available upon request. So that will be easily resolved. Someone made a comment about the editing. Yes, this was a professionally edited video, and you may or may not have access to those kind of skills. But even if you start with something that's a more simple production, the idea of showing people enjoying themselves, an active group, people engage with one another, and having a good time, I think is helpful. The second video, or the second YouTube that I found, was also from India. This is a corporate club. It's an IBM club called Blue Voice Toastmasters. And you can see their homepage is a little bit silly with the funny animation or the funny cartoons and things. At the bottom of the screen, you can see, again, a lot of member speeches. But they have at the top row there, you see something called theme, and it's that blue and gold. And it says Blue Voice Session Souvenirs. I had no idea what a session souvenir was, so I went ahead and watched one of those, and it's like 25 seconds long. This was a very different kind of video, even shorter, very colorful, very cleverly put together. And clearly, what they're calling a souvenir session is a recap of their last meeting. And by the way, at the end, you could tell they're doing virtual meetings. This is a very recent video, so they're keeping it fresh. They're keeping their content. It wasn't a perfect video. I thought it was maybe a little too short. Everything went by so fast you couldn't see it, but that would be easily fixed with just a little longer and linger on some of the key information. If I'm a visitor, I'd be intrigued by this. So those are just two examples of club YouTube pages. There are more out there, and you can have your own ideas about what might work. So let's talk about some of the steps to actually getting on the air with YouTube. The first one is really quite simple. You have to have a Gmail account. That's your starting point for anything Google. So you go to the google.com/email or Gmail, I'm sorry, and you make a new account. Now, when you see this page, you're asked for a first name, last name, and a username. If you just put in your name, and that's fine, it'll work. But later, when you start your YouTube channel, it'll have that as the name of the channel. So instead, go ahead and put in the name of your group. So I've put in a pretend club XYZ Toastmasters with an XYZ Club 1234 at gmail.com. Now, if you've ever set up a Gmail account and tried to pick a certain username, it'll sometimes comes back and says, oh, that one's already taken. Choose something else. So be aware of that and have some alternatives for this. Now, this is a Gmail account for your club. You don't necessarily use it we're not going to use it for mail. We're going to use it for YouTube. The password and confirmation are normal. The next, after you hit that next button, you go to another screen. Now all the information on this page is used to either identify you or allow them to contact you if there's a problem. For instance, if you've lost your password and you need a password reset, you need a recovery email so they can send you that, or a phone number. You're going to need a real phone number and a real email at this point. When I'm doing it, I put in my personal cell number and my personal email address. Normally, I put in my birthday and my gender. But since this is for a club, and you might have several admins, you might have several people who have access to the account, I may not want my birthday to be visible or known to those people. So it's okay to put in a fake birthday, as long as you remember what it is. I did that for this club. I actually put in, I think it was January 1st, 1950 or something like that, in order to generate an account. And I made a real account with XYZ Club 1234. Of course, I won't use it for anything. The next step, after you hit that next button, you're going to be presented with the Gmail welcome page. And you can look on the left there, you can see the inbox and the sent box and so forth. We aren't interested particularly in the email portion. You can certainly use it, but you already have emails for your club. It's maybe Free Toast Host, or you're using personal mails. If you click the little apps button, that's that little grid of dots over by the arrow, you will get a list of the Google applications. The one we want to do is the YouTube one, obviously. The steps beyond this get a little complicated, and I'm not going to spend the time going through every little step. What I want to do now is show you real websites and kind of navigate in the YouTube manager space, the admin side. So I'm going to go to a live demo.
Don, before you do that, we have a question about should we use a club Google email? They're basically confirming that it's a good idea.
If you already have one, yeah, you could use that. It's just it depends on what that's for. Is it already set up for doing club business, or is it a reach out to the world kind of email? If it's a reach out to the world kind of email, like a contact us, probably not a good idea to mix that with this account. Again, the Gmail account here is only to facilitate getting YouTube. If you can use it for regular communication within the club, great. But that's not its main function.
Thank you, Don.
Oh, and one other thing, it doesn't have to be a club account. The YouTube channels that I administer, I'm using my personal email as the Google account. But it doesn't have to be that way, and I don't have other people who enter the YouTube channel and do any of the admin work. If I did, I'd probably change that over to having something more agnostic that isn't just mine. Any other questions?
We don't have any right now.
Okay, so what I'm going to do next is slide my other screen over so that I can show my home clubs. We're going to start with its Free Toast Host. This is not the YouTube page. This is our regular website. And you can see some happy people. You can see that we also have a video on the web page. This is one of our YouTube videos, but we just link to it from here. But I'm going to go to our YouTube channel. Now, one of the things when you log in, like I just did, I thought I was going to be there. I want to click on this option called YouTube Studio. You can see there's a lot of other things on here, but YouTube Studio, where my cursor is the first place I'm going to click. And it takes me to my dashboard. Now the dashboard is just what it sounds like. You're probably seeing them on other websites. It's not one that I use a lot, but you can see it has a summary of things related to the channel. What I really want to do is look at the videos. Now this is the screen that I see as the administrator. A user would not see this. They would see the videos in a format that's ready for them to view. This is what it looks like when you're behind the screen, behind the scenes. I can see all my videos, and you can see, for instance, there is this first one here is a public video. And by the way, there are 3 kinds of videos. Public, which is just what it sounds like. It's open to the public. There's an unlisted video. What unlisted means is it won't show up in the public web page, but it can be accessed if you know the link. So this would be one that maybe would be for a member who didn't want it published, but they want to see it. So you mark it as unlisted and send them the URL, and they can watch it. The third option is one I really don't ever use. It's private. Private means I have to be invited specifically by email and get a special email, a special link. That's pretty restrictive, and I can think of cases where you might want that, but for our purposes, either unlisted or public. What else can you see on this? The little pin icon is an editing screen. So this was a little short 8-minute video I put together recently for my members, and it was, what's my Zoom setup? You know, how do I set it up? What kind of camera do I use? And so forth. So I could put in the title, a little description. That video is there. I can run it. Down, if I slide down, you'll see it's public. This one down here may not seem too important at first blush, but for YouTube it is. There's a question about whether it is made for kids or not made for kids. YouTube has special requirements for videos that are targeted for children. Obviously, none of our Toastmasters videos are targeted for children, but you need to tell YouTube that. You can, if you don't make a global change, which is easily done, you have to tell it each time. If it is made for kids, again, there are some special rules about how that is handled. It's not a problem that I need to deal with. I don't think you will have to deal with it in your YouTube channel. If I go back to the channel videos, the next one over is analytics. Analytics are just the statistics. How many views, how many hours of viewing time, and so forth. Now, for an individual thing, we've had 16 views of this. Okay, that's not really enough views to have a useful analytic. If this were a more popular channel and we had lots of people from the general public watching it, maybe this would be hundreds, thousands, or even more. Then you might want to look at the analytics. This is comments. So we had a comment from Kathy Smith. Many of you know Kathy, and she liked it. And then the last one on there is the 3 dots, which indicate more options. So again, I can do some editing. I can get a link. I can get a shareable link. If I just click this, and if down here at the bottom you say the link has been copied to the clipboard, now I can drop it into an email. I can put it on a website and put it on Facebook. So this is where you can control not only the video property itself, but how it's labeled, who can access it, and so forth. Now on here, on my overall channel, there's analytics for the overall. This is some of my personal videos, and you can see I've got one that has 417 views. There's an actual older version of that that has Actually, quite a few more. But you can see the analytics. You can see all kinds of data. How long did people watch it? How many people watched it? How many unique users watched it? Those are all information you can use to decide how effective your program is. I also have 3 accounts, my personal one, my club one, and the district. I'm the manager of the district YouTube channel. And so if we look at our analytics for the district, you can see that we've had several hundred views in the last month, including this fun one, which was the conference news episode. 80 people have watched that so far. So you can tell a lot about how well your videos are doing. There's an advanced mode on your page, which gives you a lot of different choices. I'm not going to go through all of that because that's really beyond the scope of this. What I'm hoping you do is you realize that if you are the manager of your club's YouTube page, or you find someone to be that manager, they have a lot of power to not only publish that video and make sure it's labeled properly, but to analyze the results. And if you're doing your marketing, your PR marketing for the club, you want to know whether you're having an impact. You want to know, are you making a difference with your video? I learned by watching those other club videos, those from India, I got some ideas for enhancing the content of my club videos. And I'm going to think about incorporating some of those ideas down the road. Are there any questions about the admin side of this?
We don't currently have questions on that. We still have a question about the email setup, but we can return to that at the end.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. Is that the one that says, can you switch email for club YouTube channel? I believe you can. I believe there's a process for that. What I recommend is go to Google and search for that. Google is the preferred place to find out how to do things. People don't look for the manual. They go to Google and say, how does this work? And somebody's got a video showing how that works. There will be information on changing email accounts on a YouTube channel, or adding. More likely, you can add a companion email and then just use that. That's how we do it on the district YouTube. There's actually, I'm not the owner of it. I am just one of the managers. The owner of it is the webmaster. And the webmaster has the authority to log in and do all the things that I could do. But the webmaster also is very busy with the web, the district website, and doesn't want the extra work. They're more than happy to have me do that on the YouTube page. So I believe the answer is yes, you can switch or add so that both emails can get in.
I'm not seeing any other questions on the analytics. That does. Oh, we have Jeff has raised his hand.
Okay.
I'll allow him to ask a question.
Hi, Don. Under the heading of on the page you just had, you had a couple of categories. One was monetization. The other one was copyright. Could you explain those a little bit?
Okay. Yes. Monetization is for channels that are trying to actually make money by selling ads and getting, if someone clicks on your video, you get a piece of the action. That really doesn't apply to us. We will never get a volume of visitors to a club website. I don't know what the threshold is, but I'm sure it's many, many thousands of users or subscribers. Karen can correct me.
Yeah, it is 1,000 subscribers and 10,000 hours of watch time.
Right. So if you have a YouTube channel that's very popular, and there's some that get millions or billions of hits, you are definitely in the money category and can make a boatload of money. That is not an issue for us. The copyright is something you do need to be concerned about. And the reason is it's very easy to copy music or movies or pieces of movies and put them in a YouTube on your channel. If you do that, within seconds, the computers will detect that you have copyright material on your video. You really can't get away with it. You can't hide from it. It's basically the algorithm is looking all the time to see if there's a copyrighted song or movie clip. There are two things that can happen after that point. The first thing that happens really is kind of benign. What they'll do is they'll send you a message saying, hey, you've got copyrighted material. We reserve the right to monetize this channel on behalf of the copyright owner. Meaning they could add ads or whatever to your video. They probably won't if it's just a small operation like ours, but they could. The second thing they could do is give you what they call a copyright strike, which is kind of like 3 strikes and you're out. If you get 3 copyright strikes, you could have your account suspended or deleted. The answer to that, of course, is don't use copyrighted music. Don't use copyrighted movie clips. It's really easy sometimes to say, wow, this little 15 seconds of movie clip tells my story perfectly. Well, that might be. And we had that happen on a district webinar here recently, where the speaker used a clip from Animal House that really was apropos to his message, but within 5 seconds after launching it on YouTube, it was flagged. So that's what the copyright page is telling you. And it's just a warning. We've got enough original content in our meetings with our members giving speeches. If a member does use some copyrighted material in one of their speeches, you may just have to not publish it. That's something you'll have to decide at the time. Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Thank you, Don. Yes, it does.
Okay, any other questions?
I am not seeing any at this time.
Okay, I'm going to go to the second to last slide. There's a lot going on with YouTube. It is moderately complex, and I will tell you that Google changes things up periodically. So you have to be alert to the latest look of the page, or where do they put the buttons for management and so forth. But that's, if you've been on a computer very much, you've seen that in every application, every website you work on. They keep moving things around. There's a lot of technical questions. There's also a lot of questions about, well, how can this really help us? You know, I'm still struggling with, what is it good for? And I've tried to make the point that the YouTube is a tool for you. You want to show off what your members can do. That's your member speeches. The India video had the invitation video of, come see what we do. We're having a good time. I hope you come join us. That's one that you could do. My home club, Voice of Many, 2 years ago or a year ago, we did My Why. You remember that program that Toastmasters had a little while back, where you did a 1-minute video of why I joined Toastmasters and why I stay. We did 8 or 9 of those in our club, and I did one, Jeff did one, we had some other folks that you know, PJ Glaws did one, and we had a good time. Those are all up on our YouTube page, and sometimes those are put up as the featured video on our website. Speaking of the website, I've seen so many Free Toast Host web pages that just use the standard template, and it's workable. It gets the information, but I found that when you add color and photos and make it interesting and keep it up to date, you get more traffic, and we have had more traffic because of that. Your YouTube channel can be the same way. If you keep engaging videos, keep it fresh, keep adding content, and making it applicable to what a seeker might want to know. They've reached out and somehow reached out into your Toastmaster world. They've found your YouTube channel. What do you do with it? Now, how can you get your YouTube channel out in front of people? Well, part of that is the whole social media thing that Karen has been trying to help all of us with. If you have a video that you want to get out there, use other social media to drive traffic to your YouTube page. Put it on Facebook. Put it on Instagram. Put it in your Pinterest account. Put it on your website for sure. Add it in an email when a guest contacts you for more information. Send them that information and include a link to a welcome video. There's all kinds of things you can do, but you need to have people engaged with you across multiple platforms. That's true of any social media, and Karen is an expert at that. She can tell you, you need to have a toe in every one of these ponds. YouTube is not, strictly speaking, a social media site. There is no communication back and forth other than a comment after someone views a video. And there's no real conversation there, but it is an adjunct to a robust social media set of tools. If you have questions, you didn't get the answers you were expecting, you have a question, but it's too complicated, or I've indicated that we're not going to talk about how to make videos, and that was really what you were hoping to see, reach out to me. My email is there on the screen. I'd be glad to work with you. I have other projects, so I don't have infinite time, but I'm more than willing to give you a push in the right direction and give you the guidance that you need to get going. That's the end of my presentation. Do we have any other questions or comments?
If you have questions, please raise your hand or pop them in that Q&A or in the chat. Don is a wealth of knowledge. Jeff says, thank you. I personally think I really like the idea of the welcome video. You know, I hadn't even thought of that. It's a great thing to do, to have your club have a little welcome video and put it on YouTube and then just send it to your members. Genius.
Right. And it's you. It's not, you know, World Headquarters has some fun pictures and videos and things, but those are professional actors doing that. When you do it yourself, like these people did in New Delhi, it feels genuine. It feels sincere.
Rick says, thanks, Don. Got a deeper insight into the possibilities of YouTube. Amy, thank you very much. Very helpful. So you're getting a lot of good feedback here. This was a great presentation.
Well, I had a good time putting it together. This is something that I do on a regular basis. Karen knows all of these webinars, including this one, are being recorded. And what I then do is go and edit those, clean them up, and put them on YouTube. So I practice what I preach.
Lauren says, thanks, Don. This has been very helpful. What I think is so genius about what you do, Don, is I remember just a couple of years ago when I started helping with the social media in the district, the YouTube channel wasn't anywhere near what it is today. And it's been all your hard work and dedication and little systems that you've put into place. And it has just grown. And we have people find us because of the YouTube channel.
That's the point. And people find the YouTube because of the other social media. Facebook is one of the big external sources for hits on the district page, because we put information about video on our district Facebook page. People see that and they click on it. And then they subscribe if they like it. And we have a growing subscription base. We're up to, I think, 177. Karen?
Yeah, I remember when we were trying to get to that 100 mark so we could name the district YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah, that's a little detail. You can, when you set up your page, the URL to it is just a kind of a random, it's not random, but it looks random. It's just a long sequence of letters and numbers that doesn't read like anything. When you get to 100, you can then name it. So you could be youtube.com/Voice of Many Toastmasters. We aren't there yet. We don't have that amount of subscription, but the district does, and it's growing. And it's growing at a growing rate, which is the right direction.
Louise says, thank you. We'll check out the wealth of Toastmaster stuff on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Go to the World Headquarters YouTube site. And again, we will have a link to this PowerPoint slides. Actually, it's a keynote session, but don't tell anybody. And we'll put that up on the show notes and arrange for it to be downloadable.
Absolutely. It's a great way for us to keep getting these resources.
Okay, I see in the chat, Louise, so I think what you're suggesting there is if we just make sure we make it clear what time zone we're in the description of the video.
Yeah, I know our PRM, he puts it in the comments along with a secondary link to make it easier.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought of that. Right.
Yeah. He has been putting it in the comments with a clickable link to try and make it easier for everyone.
Sure.
But yeah, and the nice thing is by using Zoom webinars, which we've been doing, when you go there, it will actually tell you what the time is for you currently. Zoom has that built-in conversion. So once you have your locations blocked out, it does automatically convert it for you, which I think is cool. I think that is all the questions we have for you, Dawn. I'm not seeing anything else pop up. I'm giving them another minute. I am beyond grateful that you did this. I really am. There's the one thing that I appreciate about you. You're busy, you have all these things, and yet I can still call you and go, Dawn, can you please do this? And you tend to say yes.
Yes. I had intended to do this earlier in October, but then I got the COVID virus and I was down for a while. So we rescheduled it. I'm feeling a whole bunch better, and I was glad for the opportunity to talk about this. By the way, if there is any suggestion or clamor for a session on video itself, as opposed to putting it on YouTube, but actually making videos, that will be a very fun set of sessions. It'll probably be more than one.
Dawn, you read my mind, because as soon as you said that, I'm like, I need to email him and say, what do you need for that? So yeah, let's make that happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good companion to this one.
I believe so too, and it will cover a lot of information.
Right.
So let's make that happen.
All right.
Awesome. All right. I think everyone is saying good night now. And thank you so much. Again, appreciate everyone. Thank you for stopping by. And don't forget to go to the District 3 YouTube channel and subscribe, because you want to see this video when it gets uploaded. And the nice thing is, if you hit the notification bell, you'll even get a little notification that tells you it was uploaded. And all the other social media videos are right there online too. Don does a fabulous job of getting them up there. So make sure you go
we have close to 200 videos, and many very recently have been put up that are very educational and helpful to clubs. We're doing that intentionally.
Fantastic. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I am going to wish everyone a good night.